Hello there. Keir Starmer is burying the Labour Party ever deeper. This time he's on the warpath to recognising a Palestinian state through the United Nations in September, while Hamas busies itself stealing the food aid. Yes, they're still doing it. Hamas are still trying to control the Gaza Strip. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a big no-no, trying to recognise Palestine. Because what Palestine state would he recognise? And what would be its borders, its leaders and government? Or will it just be the vague concept of a Palestine sometime in the future? But be in no doubt, this move by Starmer is driven more by domestic politics than any regard for the fate of Israelis or Gazans. Remember, he had zero regard for the rights of the Chagossians, did he? And why no mention of the ongoing persecution of Christians about the globe? Starmer can see hundreds of thousands, if not millions of votes from a certain demographic slipping through his fingers as that demographic continues to expand in the UK. And now that the Palestine supporting Jeremy Corbyn, we all know and love, the lefty, now that he has started his own party and has commenced stripping voters away from Labour, Starmer has been forced into this anti-Israeli stance. He has to be seen to be supporting Palestine somehow, whatever the cost. He also has to be seen to be punishing Israel. But what difference will this example of gesture politics make? Well, as far as I can make out, the only way to get the UN recognition for Palestine that they want is for the UN Security Council to vote to recommend it, which would require all 5 permanent members, the US, the UK, Russia, France and China, to all vote for it. Without that, a UN-wide procedural vote can't give Palestine UN recognition. And given that the US President Donald Trump said this,
It's all in pressuring Israel now to come to some sort of longer term solution.
Well, you could make the case that you're rewarding people, that, you're rewarding Hamas if you do that. And I don't think they should be rewarded. So I'm not in that camp, to be honest. We'll let you know where we are, but I am not in that camp. Because if you do that, you really are rewarding Hamas. And I'm not about to do that.
So he's not about to do that. So that means the UN Security Council won't vote for it. So it can't go to a proper procedural vote to make the UN recognise Palestine as a state. So I don't think it's going to get off the ground unless Trump changes his mind. And if it doesn't happen, that could leave Starmer high and dry where all those misguided, useful idiots of Hamas are concerned. So what do you reckon, Richard?
Thank you, Jeff. I mean, Starmer recognising Palestine as a state. Okay, but this is the very strange thing that's going on here, because effectively he is helping and assisting and making the UK now assist Hamas in their ultimate goal to create a Palestinian state. And how has that been achieved? Through violence. He has absolutely capitulated to the terrorists. That's what Keir Starmer has done. Hamas are not required to step down. Starmer has publicly stated that Hamas must disarm, release hostages and hand over Gaza to the Palestinian Authority. However, these are not formal conditions tied to the UK's recognition of a Palestinian state. The UK's official recognition criteria, announced by Starmer, applies only to Israel. Oh, right, okay. A daily flow of 500, this is what he stipulated, a daily flow of 500 humanitarian aid trucks into Gaza, a formal ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, right, let's just go through these a second. A daily flow of 500 humanitarian trucks into Gaza. Do you honestly think that if these are the stipulations placed by Starmer, Okay? Because if these are not met, Palestinian state recognized. So the Hamas, the authorities, which I would say the Palestinian authorities, although I do think Hamas are hardly recognized as that anymore. They're just terrorist thugs, to be honest with you. But do you think they're going to allow these humanitarian aid trucks to enter Gaza? I don't. The other thing as well, a formal ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Okay. Do you think Hamas are going to legitimize and recognize a formal ceasefire now that they can definitely get a state recognition of Palestine by September? No. The other commitment here that has to be made by Israel is a clear commitment by Israel to no annexation of the West Bank territory. Okay, slightly separate matter, I think, in this case, but yeah, some would argue on that. A renewed peace process aiming for a two-state solution. I don't know if Israel will go for that, but these stipulations are designed to make Israel fail. That's the other side of it. I mean, none of these conditions require Hamas to disarm or give up power. They don't. They're not conditions. I mean, this could turn out very, very nasty, because at the end of the day, the hostages have now become political assets. Okay? That is the thing to remember. Critics argue this removes all diplomatic leverage over Hamas and weakens the Palestinian Authority and sends the wrong message to the actors using violence as a negotiating tool, and that's absolutely correct. What have we got here? Just basically the hostages released now. That's not going to happen. Do you think they're going to in any way give Israel the impetus to stop what's going on, to stop their what's the words I'm looking for, Jeff? Their ongoing commitment to releasing the hostages. That's the most diplomatic way I can put this. And it is awful what's happening there, without pressure or consequences. I mean, it's awful. Jeff, over to you a sec.
Yeah, just to sort of beef this out a bit, as you've already said, I mean, Keir Starmer laid out some conditions in his little speech. But his speech leads me to think that he won't recognise Palestine as a state if Israel complies with these 4 conditions. So, because of the conditions and what they are, it makes 0 sense to me. Now, I'll let you judge for yourself. Now, bear in mind, I'll make it quite clear, what he's saying is that he will recognise a Palestinian state unless Israel does the following. I'll let you listen for yourself, just to make your own mind up. Be a bit critical of what he's saying.
7th of October 2023, Hamas perpetrated the worst massacre in Israel's history. Every day since then, the horror has continued. The hostages are still being held today. The Palestinian people have endured terrible suffering. Now, in Gaza, because of a catastrophic failure of aid, we see starving babies, children too weak to stand, images that will stay with us for a lifetime. The suffering must end. Yesterday, I discussed this with President Trump, and we're mounting a major effort to get humanitarian supplies back in by air, and UK aid has been airdropped into Gaza today, and crucially, by land. We need to see at least 500 trucks entering Gaza every day. But ultimately, the only way to bring this humanitarian crisis to an end is through a long-term settlement. So we are supporting the US, Egyptian and Qatari efforts to secure a vital ceasefire. That ceasefire must be sustainable, and it must lead to a wider peace plan, which we're developing with our international partners. This plan will deliver security and proper governance in Gaza and pave the way for negotiations on a two-state solution. Our goal remains a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable and sovereign Palestinian state. But right now, that goal is under pressure like never before. I've always said that we will recognise a Palestinian state as a contribution to a proper peace process at the moment of maximum impact for the two-state solution. With that solution now under threat, this is the moment to act. So today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the State of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution. And this includes allowing the UN to restart the supply of aid and making clear that there will be no annexations in the West Bank. Meanwhile, our message to the terrorists of Hamas is unchanged and unequivocal. They must immediately release all of the hostages, sign up to a ceasefire, disarm, and accept that they will play no part in the government of Gaza. And we'll make an assessment in September on how far the parties have met these steps, but no one should have a veto over our decision. So this is the way forward. We will keep working with all our international partners to end the suffering, get aid flooding into Gaza, and deliver a more stable future for the Middle East. Because I know that is what the British people desperately want to see. Thank you.
What a complete, total, and utter wank. Honestly, right, he talks about wanting to stop the starvation in Gaza. Who doesn't want that to stop? All of us want that to stop. That's absolutely hideous. And he has just ensured now that there are children who will not see another meal ever again, because he has just prevented aid getting in. Hamas now will be thinking, great, we can find a way to stop these trucks getting in. We will do whatever it takes to ensure that that food does not get there, so we can get a state of Palestine. Complete joke of a man.
Yes. Well, I love the way he says at the end that you will not get in the way of our decision. Whose decision is that? So what we're saying is, Israel, you will do as we say, and all the rest of it. Would we agree to that sort of, dictatorial comment? I think he's an utter, yeah. And so Israel have got to agree to a ceasefire. Well, they have in the past, but Hamas either rejects them or breaks them. October the 7th, 2023 was a massive breach of a ceasefire. And they also must allow the UN to restart supplying aid. Israel did try that very recently. They showed the press all those trucks that were lying empty, the UN trucks with all the food there, and no food was getting into Gaza, because it seems like the UN wants Hamas and to help Hamas to starve their own children. Good for optics, good for all the propaganda. And there is plenty of evidence to suggest that the UN meekly hands the aid over to Hamas anyway, so it's never going to get to the people. Hence the US-Israeli effort to supply aid through the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which both Hamas and the UN are very keen to stop. They want to stop the US and Israel supplying aid. They're very keen to stop it. Now, why would that be? Because they can't sell it? That's probably nearer the mark. And making clear there will be no annexations in the West Bank. The West Bank that was taken by force by Jordan in 1948, I think it was, and annexed as theirs. That West Bank, yeah. That actually does belong to Israel, believe it or not. So does the Gaza Strip. And committing to a sustainable two-state solution-based peace. The two-state solution that Hamas keeps rejecting, even after they were gifted Gaza in 2005 and got into power there in 2007. The Israelis said, there you go, you've got Gaza. Have it. But Because Hamas believes totally in a one-state solution from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea under Islamic control, they just started firing rockets and attacking Israel. And if they were given a two-state solution, they would regard it as a stepping stone to killing off Israel and its occupants. They would just keep attacking in the knowledge that the UN, the UK and all the other idiots would keep handing bits of Israel over to them. That's how it works. Salami slicing.
Yeah.
But what
Jeff,
Starmer
though,
is saying...
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to finish.
I'm so
but
annoyed.
What Starmer is saying... Yeah, I know. If Israel complies with the above, including the two-state solution, Starmer won't recognise a Palestinian state at that UN meeting. Sorry, let me say that again. He said that he will recognise a Palestinian state unless Israel agrees to a two-state solution. I'm sorry, that would mean recognising Palestine as a state. What planet is this guy on?
Yeah. I mean, look, Jeff, right, Starmer, he's going on, he's demanding these 500 aid trucks into Gaza a day. But Hamas has been, it's been accused by the United Nations, the EU, and of course Israel. But obviously a lot of people watching this won't take anything that Israel says as being, cohesive or unbiased. They've been accused of seizing and redirecting aid supplies. That's the truth of the matter. Without Hamas, there's no requirement for Hamas to step down for the United Kingdom to recognise Palestine, a Palestinian state. I mean, at the same time, you've got the Arab states, okay? You've got the Arab states now opposing Hamas rule. That's what they're doing, okay? You've got a coordinated United Nations statement here by Qatar, Egypt and Saudi Arabia, all who in the past, all those countries in the past have previously been linked to Hamas, especially Qatar. And they're saying that Hamas must disarm, the same as Starmer. Hamas must end its rule in Gaza, and the Palestinian Authority should take over governance. But the difference is in what they're saying is they're not putting the conditions on to Israel for a recognition of a Palestinian state. This is all on... This is what Starmer's doing that is totally different and is despicable. He is going to cause... I've seen some comments, the usual rubbish about Israel causing a genocide. Right now, the one person who's going to exacerbate a genocide is Keir Starmer. That's the problem here. People are starving. Children are starving. It is evil what is going on there. And... you have to place the blame at the feet of the people behind it. And it's not just Hamas, it's Iran too.
Yep. Yes, it is, the whole thing. And the thing is that when he goes on to say that Hamas must give up the hostages and surrender and play no part in any new state of Palestine going forwards, how are you going to stop them being democratically elected again, like they were in 2007 in Gaza, if the Palestinians want them in power? All I can see is a rinse and repeat of recent events. More suffering and the forcing of Israel to cede ever more ground. That's all I can see. Starmer and Lammy have no clue. In effect, they would be sentencing generations of young British troops and others to standing as peacekeepers between an eternally vindictive state of Palestine on one side and Israel on the other. Who will they blame when the first rockets come out of the new Palestine aimed at Israel? Who are they going to blame? Yeah, because that's all I totally can see happening.
Yes, I totally agree, Jeff. It's
my final analysis is that the IDF must continue the task until Hamas is completely and utterly dismantled and every single Hamas terrorist is eliminated. That's the only way you're going to get peace. And by demanding that Israel stands back and allows Hamas room to rearm and reorganize is a stupid way ahead.
Well, this move by the other Arab nations saying that Hamas must stand down, it flies in the face of all these, what's the word I'm looking for? The nice left-wing people who have been marching up and down, shouting from the river to the sea in London every weekend. It flies in the face of them. And it just shows how out of touch those people are with what the actual Arab nations, the people within the Arab world are thinking. And especially the people in Iran. The people in Iran are actually supporting Israel. I know that goes over the heads of most people, but the average person, probably about 70 to 80% of the people in Iran are supporting Israel. They want regime change. They know that it's a proxy war. The whole situation with Gaza, with Hezbollah, and versus Israel, they're all proxies funded and initiated and instigated by Iran. They understand that. They're not stupid. You just got a lot of people going in the West who are here and they go, it's Israel's fault. Israel are doing it. Israel are doing the bombings. Yes, Israel are firing back at point of origin. They have just been attacked. They were attacked dreadfully on October the 7th. And as a result, the most hideous response, and it is a hideous response that Israel has done. We can't deny that. But that response has been, you could say, proportionate. I know you might say that's not proportionate. But there's an argument for it being proportionate, in terms of, because the thing is, that was one attack by Hamas. They said they want to do more and more and more and more against Israel. They want an October the 7th every week if they could actually get around to doing it. And that is the thing that people are forgetting. The West is filled with virtue signaling, liberal lefty, soy latte guzzlings, guzzlers who want nothing more than just a look to say, I'm flying the flag. I look at what's happening in Gaza. It's disgusting. Oh, aren't I so wonderful? Of course it's disgusting what's happening in Gaza. Of course innocent children losing their lives and starving to death is disgusting. How can you say it isn't? How could any decent person say that isn't disgusting? But put the blame at the feet of those who are stopping the aid getting through, which is Hamas.
Yes.
And a lot of people say it's a genocide. Oh, they're ghettoized. It's an apartheid system. There's a bloody border with Egypt they could cross over through. Why won't Egypt let them through? Very strange that. Why are the Egyptians dead against anyone coming through from Gaza? Why?
Yep.
This is an awful situation, Jeff.
Yes. As Brenda M. Hewitt says, Starmer's fallen for the fake pics of the children with congenital diseases, and that's what really rankles with me. You misusing pictures of ill children to try and further these despicable aims. And the overweight fat parents, yes, there's always the parents always look so well fed, and even in that aid truck thing I showed you earlier, where the aid trucks being controlled by Hamas were being driven away through people who could have benefited it from, that those people didn't look like they were starving. They just looked like normal people. So, and the hundreds of thousands of very healthy Hamas men, exactly, they are very healthy and very, ready to go. Otherwise, they would be giving up, but they're not. They're taking the food. Anyway, yeah, so it really does sort of upset me, all this, because people are falling for what is blatant propaganda. All they have to do is go further down than skin deep to see it all. Anyway, in the sort of case of these countries, these Arab states that are now demanding Hamas lays down its arms, surrenders the hostages and control over Gaza, they include Qatar. That's where most of the Hamas top brass are actually located, isn't it, in Qatar, living the life of luxury. So why are they suddenly calling for Hamas to hand over control? What's going on? Saudi Arabia and Egypt. In a declaration after a recent US conference, it said, in the context of ending the war in Gaza, Hamas must end its rule in Gaza and hand over its weapons to the Palestinian Authority, with international engagement and support, in line with the objective of a sovereign and independent Palestinian state. Now, as far as I can make out, there isn't much love lost between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. Isn't it the Palestinian Authority that's in control of the West Bank, I think? Anyway,
I believe so, Jeff,
Hamas
yes.
are very, very hard line. There's only one thing they believe in. That is Palestine from the river to the sea. A one-state solution under their control. And what will everyone do if the Iran-funded Hamas says no way? What would our Foreign Secretary David Lammy do if they refused? Remember, he said, Hamas must never be rewarded for the monstrous attack on October the 7th. It must immediately release the hostages, agree to an immediate ceasefire, accept it will have no role in governing Gaza and commit to disarmament. How will we know if Hamas or its successor, because they could just rename themselves Sama or something like that, how will you know if they're involved or the people are involved? How will you know if they've disarmed? How are you going to do that? Send UN peacekeepers in to do it? You know, the same UN peacekeepers that have been watching as Hamas, Hamas and Hezbollah have been putting bunkers under the watchtowers of the UN and right in front of their noses. No. I don't get all that. I don't believe any of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Comment here by Drew MC. Are you guys suggesting they are starving their own children for propaganda purposes? Absolutely. Yes, that's
Yes.
exactly what they do.
Yes.
Yes.
I am saying that absolutely. And they also hide behind them. They hide behind them when the bullets fly, because when the bullets fly, they all wear civilian clothes, pop out of buildings, out from under hospitals, and all the rest of it. We know it happens. And then when they get shot at, they start going, oh, it's not fair. They're shooting at us, and they're shooting at the babies we're hiding behind. I think it's reprehensible, personally.
Yes, I mean, they've also been, as I said previously, what they've been doing is they have been firing their missiles towards Israel. What's been the point of origin? Schools, hospitals, United Nations buildings, churches, mosques. Mosques, and playgrounds. It's absolutely hideous. And when Israel does eventually fire back to point of origin of the launch, don't forget, at some point, it's either, if the Iron Dome wasn't protecting them, what do you honestly think the repercussions would have been in Israel right now from all those launches? They were firing towards nuclear reactors, for goodness sake. It's a hideous situation. Yes, I blame Hamas 100% for everything that's gone on there.
And it's not only that. Oh, sorry, I'll just say, Nomad, thank you very much. 75% of the British Mandate Palestine is in Jordan. Yes, correct. Will they return the land if Starmer recognises Palestine? Why silence on Drew's Christian genocide and the church attack in Congo, killing 38 people, as I mentioned earlier? But you're absolutely right. Everyone forgets that Jordan was created at about the same time as Israel, out of the same mandate. And the whole idea was that was the two-state solution. The trouble is, the Palestinians wanted to run Jordan, and they got kicked out. They got kicked out because they tried to take over Jordan. And everyone forgets this sort of thing. That's why Egypt wants nothing to do with them either, because they know what will happen if they let Palestinians or whatever Gazans through the crossing into the Sinai Desert. They would start firing rockets from the Sinai Desert into Israel, because that's what they would do. So what do you think Israel would then have to do? Attack Egypt, and Egypt wants nothing to do with that at all. Yeah, so I would just point that out.
So you mentioned the Druze and the Christian genocide taking place. Absolutely correct. There's nothing on the left about that. No mention of it. What did I read the other day? Was it 12 million? Right now, 12 million Christians in Nigeria, I believe, are under direct threat this year. I mean, I was like, that can't be true. I did read that somewhere, and I'll have to get back to you on that one, Jeff. But it was a staggering figure. It was, and that's the way the world's going.
Yeah, that is one of the big areas of Christian persecution. Yeah. Oh, yeah, look, there's another one as well. Thank you very much, Nomad, for another one. Starving Gaza still had chance to make love and increase population by 2% since October the 7th. That's the worst genocide in history. Yeah, I pointed this out before. The indications are that the population is just trending up all the time. And every single time that Israel attacks a target in Gaza, they drop leaflets. They make telephone calls. They tell people to get out of the way of the attack. It devalues the attack because the terrorists move at the first opportunity with the people. So they're amongst the people. That's why they have to hit these really targeted, attacks on tents and things like that. Once they've identified one of these guys, in goes the bomb, but the guy is sleeping next to innocent people. But that's what happens when we allow these people to continue with this reprehensible behaviour. They must be wiped out. If Israel did not do that, all these Hamas people would do is just hide, would just march their people forward, all their women and children forward towards Israel, shooting from behind them, knowing that the Israelis won't shoot back. That's the sort of thing they'd get up to, because they're not nice people. Anyway, Israel will level Gaza now. Well, they're being forced to do it bit by bit, because every time they move in, there's another piece there where the Hamas are shooting at them, so they've got to shoot back. If they pull out, Hamas will regroup, reform, and commit more atrocities against Israel. They have to be stopped. And this plan by Starmer, who is going to keep the peace between a Palestinian state that hates Jews and hates Israel to the point it will genocide itself to get rid of them, then who's going to keep the peace between them and Israel? How are we going to do that? Yes. As Colin Free says, Starmer is a mental case. Just look at his eyes. There's something odd about him, very worrying. Yeah, he's almost like an automaton sometimes. It's just... Anyway, yes.
Well,
anyway,
Jeff,
what I want to... Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean, one
just...
of the things you have to look at is that 1/3 of Labour MPs signed a letter demanding unconditional recognition of Palestine. And yeah, there is a fracture taking place on the left, because you have to remember Starmer has just placed a condition on this. If you do this, we won't. I mean, Corbyn is going out and saying, no, this isn't, you haven't gone far enough. There should be no condition. A Palestinian state should be recognised tomorrow. The left is in absolute turmoil over this whole situation, Jeff. I mean, that effectively the hard left have just said the Starmer hasn't gone far enough. And this is going to pull people towards, at least 1/3 of MPs potentially towards Jeremy Corbyn's new party. I'm very, very concerned about this new party of Jeremy Corbyn's. And part of me is because I think it will do very well. At the same time, it'll do very well. It won't actually manifest in votes. That's the difference. Yeah. Or seats, I should say, not votes. It manifests in seats. You can have Labour and what's it called, your party creating such a split. But it will be what I would say, it'll be a very negative pressure group that will sort of at some point band together. One will come out the winner, will come out victorious in this, whether it's Labour, a new reformed Labour, or if it'll be Corbyn's Your Party. That's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it will split the left, but the most people are just worried about losing votes, aren't they? How do I get hold of the votes of a certain demographic, because they've gone from thousands to hundreds of thousands, and within the next 10 years, 15, 20 years, it's going to be millions of votes. How do we control those votes? We've got to give them something. We've got to give them Palestine. We've got to give them that. Then they'll all be happy. They won't want anything else. No, once they've got Palestine, they won't want anything else. They won't want to conquer Israel and completely destroy it. No, 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 no. They won't want to take... Do you know something? I reckon within the next 20 years, unless we get a grip on this situation, we will be told by the UN that we, the UK, must come to a two-state solution. Yes.
Yeah, but
we will be told... No, we will be told by the international community that we, in the UK, must form a two-state solution. That's what we'll be told.
No, not going to happen.
It'll come.
It won't. Yeah, certain things may be demanded, but the reality of the situation, I think, will be very different. Yes, I'll say no more.
If we take control of our country, yes.
Yes. There's a comment here. Andrew P. Israel has committed crimes against humanity. Stop trying to twist it the other way. The other war around, but the other way around. I'm sorry. I have to say this. I'm not one of these sort of blind Zionists, okay, who just says that everything that Israel does is rosy and it's all wonderful on Israel's side. No, it most certainly is not. I can tell you that now. That's something that's... Sorry, you're not getting that opinion from Jeff or myself. But what you are getting is... Let's take a look at the root cause of this conflict. And it is hideous. It is provocation continuous by Iran using Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah as proxies. Everybody in the Middle East knows this, or most people do.
Yep.
You have your extremist factions, which have now come to Britain and are now influencing the minds of the left, I would say. And it's so wrong. And many on the right as well. A lot of people on the right are saying, oh, this is all Israel's fault. I'm thinking, okay, all right, well, Israel has pushed for peace. It gave Gaza, the Gaza Strip, to the people of Gaza. It gave them, said, there you go. They moved all the Israelis out. They were forced out, actually, the Israelis were, by their own military. And then Hamas started attacking Israel en masse at one point. And you're like, oh, okay. We can see the direction of travel here. We can see what they want. It's an awful situation. Please don't think that anyone's looking at Israel and saying, aren't they wonderfully behaved? As you rightly said, Jeff, before they do launch, they do send texts and do leaflet drops to the point where they're going to attack. But that's where Hamas then rounds the children up, and it's just bloody hideous.
Yeah, I know. Now, here's another thing I just want to look at. The former SNP leader and one of the pro-Palestine mob, Humza Yousaf, as well as many others, gabble on about the term the occupiers. But no one ever asks these people exactly what they mean by this. I would like to see news presenters start asking them who they regard as the occupiers and exactly what they are occupying. That needs to be spelled out exactly and explicitly for all the world to see, because without that clarity, no solution will ever be found, because it could be taken as one of many ways. Is it the occupiers of Gaza? Do they think that Israel is occupying Gaza? Well, they weren't. They weren't even in there until they were forced in after October the 7th. Or is it the West Bank, which they were thrown out of in 1948, and now maybe they want to take it back? Is that against international law? I'm not so sure about that. Or, as my suspicions think, do the vast majority of these people believe that the occupiers are the Jews in Israel and they must all be removed so that everything becomes Palestine? If that's the case, they are talking about genocide or ethnic cleansing themselves. And at a minimum, these people are demanding that Israel open its borders to anyone who calls themselves Palestinian, so they can then get onto the electoral roll and vote the Jewish state of Israel into non-existent. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, Jeff, do you have a video of Hamza Yusuf there speaking at all?
I can add it if you like.
No, it's okay.
I'll put it up.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll leave that for now. But it's very interesting talking about people occupying areas.
Yeah.
Very strange. It does feel like there are people occupying parts of the United Kingdom right now. That's very much what it feels like. I'm talking about the far right, by the way. I wouldn't be talking about
definitely,
anybody
of
else.
course.
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
No,
you couldn't be
not
talking
talking about
about
anybody else.
no.
Yes, all those racist far right mothers and aunts and grandmothers who go out protesting in Epping. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, of course. But there does seem to be a sense of occupation taking place. But I don't think Hamza Yusuf is detecting that, or at least won't acknowledge it. I wonder if he supports it. No, he wouldn't do that. No. Anyway, that's just me speculating, talking a load of rubbish. Of course, comment here by Kappa Dasso. I can't pronounce your name. I please do apologize. Israel has committed acts of genocide. Hamas wants to commit acts of genocide. Tell me, who's the worst? The powerful who do, or the weak who can't? Very good question. How weak are Hamas? That's the question, Don't forget, they haven't just been funded by Israel. They have been funded by aid.
Iran.
Okay. Sorry, not
Iran.
Israel. Sorry, Iran. Sorry. Sorry. Very tired here. Yeah. The West has actually funded Hamas en masse, when you think about it, because they've received more aid, Gaza has, than, what was it, Germany since at the end of World War II, proportionately. Now, when you think about that, so where did all that money go? It should be a paradise. It's only a small area, much smaller than Germany was as a country. It went into tunnel systems. It went into impoverishing and creating the perception of an impoverished population, which they are, incidentally, the people in Gaza. It's awful. But at the same time, then, money was siphoned off to Qatar. The leadership are billionaires. Many of the leadership are living lives of luxury. It is dreadful. I would say that the people who are benefiting and who have the actual power are the leadership of Hamas. They have the power to do many things that they aren't actually doing right now. I think if there was a coordinated push, they would be able to do them, although Israel and America has completely neutered them in many respects, not just via bombing of Gaza, but by also taking out strategic places and backup systems within Iran as well, and in Syria as well, with Hezbollah, and Lebanon. So it's a massively complicated situation, but have no doubt, if they could, they would do worse, and they would continue to do worse. Hamas may not have the military power of Israel, but what they do have is the will and the ability to cross over, or they did at least until Israel's response, to cross over and do more October the 7th. And they want more October the 7th. And the worst thing is they want them to take place here in the United Kingdom as well. Now think on that. So when everyone is saying, oh, these people are bad and Israel is the bad guy here, there is no real good guy. But at the same time, I have to say, Israel could never be a good guy when you consider what they're fighting against. So how can Israel be that sort of perfect state with no blood on its hands when it is actually at war? And war is bloody and it's horrible. It's an awful situation, but I like to address sometimes some of these negative comments or questioning what we're saying, Jeff, because that is so important. Not just the people who just call us Zionist shills. I'm still waiting for my check from Israel, if that's what I'm meant to be.
Yes. Someone says here, Wayne H., if Starmer were PM during the Second World War, there is no doubt as to whose side he would be on. Well, we'd all be speaking German, wouldn't we, right now? So, yeah. The way I look at it is that that Hamas are strong because they don't have any morals in that respect. They are prepared to do anything to anyone to achieve their aim. Anything to anyone, even their own children. They revel in it. They call them martyrs. Just check it out for yourself. They believe that every dead child, every dead woman, every dead teenager is a martyr. That's what they call them, martyrs.
Yeah.
And we're not listening to them. Well, I am, and so is Richard, but no one else is listening to them. They want those dead bodies, and they want to parade them in front of you and say, look what those awful... Why is it that Israelis have safe spaces in every house that was built since 1993, I think it was, or something like that? And every business has to have a safe space, where they can go and hide from bombs and attacks. What safe spaces has Hamas supplied for its children, for its women? No, the tunnels are reserved for the terrorists, for them to eat their food in and be safe and come out and snipe at people from behind women and children. That's the real truth.
Well said, Jeff. Well said, mate.
Yeah. So,
oh, hang on.
Yeah,
We've got somebody's coming. Andrew P. You two have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Tell us about the Balfour Declaration. I was waiting for somebody to mention the Balfour Declaration. It always gets wheeled out at this point. When the British gave a section to land to the Zionist. Okay. Yeah. I think you need to look a little more deeply into the Balfour Declaration. But not just that. Let's just go back to that period in time. Let's go a little bit after there, with the creation of the state of Pakistan and the split between India and Pakistan, when millions of people, tens of millions of people, were removed from their lands and had to move to live somewhere else. It was an awful, awful situation. There was lots going on during that period of time, but you have to take yourself back to that era, because the issues the Jews have faced predates the awful thing that happened in the Holocaust in the 1930s and 1940s. The Jews were being driven out of not just Europe, but also out of the Middle East as well. They had nowhere to go except to Judea, which is the ancient homeland of the Jews, which we now call Israel today. Well, part of it. Judea and Israel were actually two separate places, and there is a lot to this. But if you've got a people who just want an area smaller than the size of Wales, I believe Israel is, why can't they have it? Look at how big the Middle East is. Look how big it is. We'd have peace. Let them have that patch of land. Be done with it. Even Greater Israel, the concept of Greater Israel, which is a lot bigger, and I don't think you'll find many people globally want that, but even the concept of Greater Israel would, if they had all that. I mean, how could they achieve Greater Israel anyway? It would take a miracle for them to achieve that kind of sort of land grab, because we're talking about moving into Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. And this is what the people say the push of the Zionists is. I don't see it. I really don't. Israel has just shrunk. It hasn't grown.
I'll just point out that when Israel was formed, it covered the Gaza Strip and the West Bank as well as Israel. It is recognised by some today. Now, when the Six-Day War started, because Israel was being attacked economically, it had to react. And it actually ended up taking the Golan Heights to the north. Yeah. It took the West Bank, it took Gaza, and it took a load of the Sinai Desert out of Egypt. What did Israel do? They then came to an agreement with the West Bank, which seems to have been abused by Jordan. They ended up giving Gaza away. That's not an expansion. And they gave the entire places in the Sinai Desert that they took, gave it all back to Egypt. Is that an expansion, Richard? Or is that just being peaceful and trying to make peace with the people around you?
Yes, exactly. But people don't want to hear that. They don't want facts.
No, definitely
And
not.
that's the sad thing about it.
I just want to point to this other comment here from Judgment Day. You only need safe spaces when you plan for war. When you want peace, prepare for war. That is sound advice, very sound advice, something the UK hasn't been doing. In fact, we've been giving away our defence. We've been cutting it back. And now look what a sorry state we're in. So, yes, if you want peace, prepare for war. Be ready for it. Doesn't matter who's going to attack you, but someone will if you're weak. So there you go.
Well, the Druze community, they want Israel to take over Syria.
Yes, they do.
I'm sure a lot of the Christians in Syria want Israel to take over Syria. When you see that, because we're looking at genocides taking place, but there's no mention of that on here. No. You don't see that in the press. You don't see the virtue signal left talk about what's happening in Syria. No. That's fine because it's not Israel. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely does my head in. These people are absolutely pathetic who just go around spouting nonsense they know nothing about. That is the danger of this. So, yes, going back to the initial point here, Starmer, you've done well done, Mr. Starmer. You've done an excellent job supporting Hamas and allowing them, and thus making the United Kingdom complicit in what will happen next, which is a dreadful thing. Because that means that there will be children, more children now, will end up starving because of what you have done. And people have voted for that man. People voted for Keir Starmer. If you voted for Keir Starmer, you have voted for the starvation of more children in Gaza. Because Hamas will not allow those aid trucks through. They will do everything they can to stop it. As soon as those aeroplane drops of food and packages come through, they'll be straight on them. They'll be confiscating them from. I mean, I've watched footage of, terrible footage of just innocent people, civilians in Gaza, running after food and trying to get, and then being dispatched by Hamas. Awful. Rounded up and dispatched. Yeah. Young boys, Nah, sorry.
And then they blame it on Israel. So the Israelis did it.
Yeah, it just makes me
That's
sick.
That's how they
Jeff.
do it.
Makes me
does.
sick.
Yeah, I still like. Yeah. I'm just wondering if Trump is still sticking to his idea of taking over Gaza.
I hope so.
Everyone's forgotten about that, haven't they?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if he did? Wouldn't it be great if it brought peace? If it stopped people dying, but people say, "Oh no, we can't have that's an invasion." Peace first. To be honest, all I want is a peaceful outcome and people to live happily. People forget that in Israel there are so many Arabs. What was it 15% of the IDF is Arab Muslim?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
What? Oh, okay. Didn't you know that?
Yeah. And they have Arab judges.
Yes.
Arab policemen.
Exactly.
All happily living together. Yep. Yeah, I just get, it just sort of beggars belief that people fall for this It's because they want to believe it. That it's this whole thing, blame Zionists and Zionism for everything and blame the Jews for everything. And that's how the 1930s and 1940s came about. Right now, I don't see them in control. I see them leaving. I just wonder how many Jews have left Britain in the last 2 years as they see this growing anti-Semitism in this country. They're not in control. They're leaving. Oh, a lot of you be saying, and I know exactly what you are. If you're celebrating that, I know exactly what you are. But yeah.
No, there's lots of people. I mean, Jews do not feel safe in Britain right now. And I know the thing is, it's become, if we were to say, if some of these comments that I read was said about another religion, for instance, there'd be uproar. So I don't mean in the comment section here, but I read on Twitter. If it's unbelievable, the level of anti-Semitism, and it's just casual now. It's endemic and systemic in Europe, but particularly in the United Kingdom. And I'm sorry, I can never stand for anti-Semitism. If you're treating one section of society so badly, which section is going to be next? Right now, it's the Jews who are getting it in the neck. So when's it going to be the Christians' United Kingdom? Oh, hang on, we're starting to see signs of that. We're starting to see street preachers now being arrested for just preaching the word of God, and for actually having a theological debate with somebody of a different religion. That now got a man arrested, and he had a non-crime hate incident or whatever it is. I mean. Yeah. What do they say? It's the Sundays first, or Saturdays first, then the Sundays. Yeah, awful.
Yeah. Paper Domino makes a good point. How can Starmer recognise Palestine when he can't even seem to recognise the UK border sovereignty? Well, that's a very good point, isn't it? Yes, and
you can't even recognise the difference between a man and a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless it's in law, unless a judge tells him. And what if he has to do everything like that? Can you prove legally that this is a bar of soap or something like that? I mean, it's just unbelievable that he had to have a judge or three judges in the Supreme Court to tell him what a man or a woman is. I mean, unbelievable. But there you go. Yeah. Yes. The furry bastard says, at Jeff Taylor, Antifa are the Fourth Reich. Yes, well, I've seen them.
We encountered some of those the other day, Jeff.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, they were pretty tame, actually. But they had masks on. So, you just look at them wearing a mask, coward, go away, get a proper argument and come and debate. Don't just shout and claim everybody you don't agree with is a racist or as,
Yeah, but they were up against some good old working class lads in the South Wales valleys. I wouldn't have liked to have gone up against them en masse. No way.
No, definitely not. No, someone points out that there are millions of decent Jewish people around the world that condemn Zionism. That means they condemn their own Jewish state, their own Israel. Is that what it means? Because that's what it sounds like to me. Now, you have to also remember that there are quite a lot of really Orthodox Jews, about half of them, that believe that the man-made state of Israel must be destroyed in order for God to then give them their proper Israel. God will gift them with Israel properly. It cannot be given to them by man. That's why many of them want to destroy Israel, because it was given to them by man, not by God. God didn't come along and say, there is your land. So there are lots and lots of different facets to all of this, and you don't have to just believe one. So, yes.
Yes, Jeff, there we go. But it's a sad day for the people of Gaza. And it's just been made a damn sight worse, but obviously, so the situation made a damn sight worse by Keir Starmer and what he's done, which is effectively he has rewarded violence, he has rewarded terrorism, and now the United Kingdom is now assisting Hamas. That's what we're doing. Their goals,
right.
He has effectively legitimized the goals and the actions of Hamas and what they did on October the 7th and what they've done prior to that and intend to do in the future. Well done, Keir. Well done.
Yeah. Shouldn't have, as far as, this is where people who say just stay out of it should do just stay out of it. If just let Israel get on with the job of destroying Hamas to defend themselves. Because if they don't, if they're not allowed to do that, it will continue on and continue and continue. And another atrocity will happen. And once again, we'll be here. Someone will cause it, but Israel will get the blame every time. So I say, Israel, get on with it, finish the job, and then no one can ever blame you ever again. Anyway,
Yeah, it's just so
That's
sad
just me.
that there are children who are suffering in this whole
Yep.
bloody awful situation. Yeah.
yeah,
Do I think Israel is perfect? No. I do not.
yes.
I think they're in an absolute dire situation. How would we? What do you expect your state to do when after you've had one October the 7th and more potentially on the horizon? What would you expect your state to do if it was here in the United Kingdom? Look what happened after Southport, right? That was one incident. Imagine you magnify that on many magnitudes. You magnify it by many magnitudes. Yeah. And just imagine the results on our streets. And imagine the demands of the British people, by the British people upon our state to sort the situation out.
When you look at the figures, 1,200 Jews being killed on one day, or Israelis, or people visiting Israel, because some of them were British, some American, and all the rest of it. If 1,200 of that population was killed, it'd be many magnitudes of that here in the UK. It would be a lot bigger number. What is the population of Israel? 5-6 million? I can't remember.
Let me just check for you.
I can't remember what it is. Whatever it is, and ours is arguably about 70 million.
9.7 million.
So it's at least 7 times that, 1,200. So it's nearing on 100,000, between 80 and 100,000, that sort of figure. So if you're looking at that, if that happened in this country, 80 to 100,000 people slaughtered in one day, what? Oh, we better just sit about and sing Kumbaya and put a few emojis up on our social media. No, we would all be demanding we hit back so hard that the other side didn't know what hit them. Anyway, I think we've said enough.
Yes, Jeff, I just, let's, please, everyone, keep the children in Palestine and in Israel in your thoughts and in your prayers. Please do, because they need help. They need God, and they need direct help from God right now. They need to be saved from the awful situation that they find themselves in. And I can't dispassionately just look at what's happening in Gaza without it affecting me. I don't know how anybody can not be affected by such imagery. Granted, Hamas are using other footage, and we all know about Pallywood, and we all know about the fake footage that Hamas chucks out there. They have almost like a film industry dedicated to producing fake material for the world to get horrified at. We know that goes on, but we also know that there are children starving there as well, and horrific things taking place. So, yeah, just keep them in your prayers, ladies and gentlemen, tonight and at all times. Yeah. And anyway, thank you for watching this show, and over to you, Jeff.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far, or got something from it. And I'd like if you could just like, subscribe, and comment, and all the rest of it, and think about becoming a channel member as well for less than the price of a pint in a London pub on a monthly basis. And I would just echo what Richard said. We shouldn't wish this on our worst enemy. But if your worst enemy attacks you so hard, then I'm afraid to say they have what's coming to them. And the job has to be finished as far as I'm concerned. And on that note, I'll say it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. Goodbye.
Goodbye.